Welcome to another episode of Everything Intellectual Property. Today, we have a very special guest with us. This gentleman has created a number of products, including his latest product, the Divergent Safe. Please help me welcome the founder of JC Product Design, John Corbett. How's it going, John?
All right, doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Man, I know we were talking offline, and it was like some great conversation. So I'm excited to, as I was telling you, to get off into this one, just because I think you're going to bring, especially with your experience on kind of being an expert on Amazon, the brand, just kind of getting out brands and selling products on Amazon, a different perspective compared to somebody who's, just kind of building a business and okay, yeah, they sell their product on Amazon, but they're not kind of experienced in it in a way that you are, as well as your take on IP. I think that's going to be a pretty cool. So I do kind of at least want to maybe start off. I know, again, you created a number of products over the years, and the latest one being the Divergent Safe. Can you maybe at least explain that one a little bit, just kind of get an audience a little bit more of an idea of what that consists of or encompasses?
Yeah. So I sell a whole line of different divergent safes. And basically what a divergent safe is it's something that looks like a normal household item that's actually a safe behind it. And the idea is that someone's not going to look at a can of Pepsi and think, oh, there's something hiding in here. And so the one that I just developed is an outlet safe. And so it looks just like a normal outlet that you'd put a plug into, but it's held on by magnets, and you take it off, put in any valuables that you want stored and have quick access to, put it back on there, and no one's going to know any difference. So great for hiding it from thieves, but also just, nosy roommates or anything like that, anything that you want hidden, housekeepers or something like that, but still having quick access to.
Okay, nice. So then I know that was, how did you kind of get off into like the whole safe, Divergent Safe secret? I know we'll talk about some of the trademarks and stuff like that you have. How did you get off into that? Was that something that you always kind of wanted to do, or did, I guess, some type of event, kind of life event, kind of led you down that path? How did you get off into Divergent Safes or kind of that kind of area?
Yeah, good question. So as a kid, I mean, you know how it is as a kid. Like you're always excited. You want to be clever. You want to be sneaky. You like hiding things somewhere. I just remember hiding all different types of stuff in like hidden compartments as a kid, just thinking that was like the coolest thing ever, James Bond style. This one though, I was just looking. I have a line of party decorations, sashes, things like that for dads mainly. And so this is quite a bit different, but I was looking online and there's similar products out there, but they all had really bad reviews. And so the problem was with the faceplate for the outlet, it looked too fake. And so everyone was saying, this is a great concept, but how come it doesn't look real? And so I was like, well, I could do that. And so I actually started in my garage just using things from Home Depot and like gluing magnets on and stuff like that. And just to test the market, just to see how it was. And so the final version that I have now, that's over a couple of years of iterating and making it better and better, finally getting it professionally manufactured in China. But starting out, and this is just great for advice for anyone with a business, always see what your competition's doing. See what they're doing well, see what they're not doing well, just see what opportunities there are. And that's what I found. I found people really liked that concept of the idea, but it wasn't being doing well. It wasn't being done well.
Now, I guess that's interesting, because was it not being, because I know a lot of times, and it does happen, but so you can get, as you just pointed out, good quality professional things done in China in terms of manufacturing. But then it seems like, a lot of times when we run across a knockoff, we also think China or kind of cheap, whatever, that type of a thing as well. So was the products that were maybe not as high quality as yours, were they also maybe manufactured in China, did you know, or were they like American companies who just didn't get it right?
No, they were probably, it was probably made in China. And I think that's the huge advantage that we have as Americans, is that we understand our culture better. We understand our customers a lot better. And so, you can't compete on China on price. They're okay with just super thin margins, but you understand your customer better. And you can get high quality stuff from China now. Absolutely. So that's,
nice.
that's definitely something that I've found. But you gotta work with someone that you trust.
Right. Right. No, for sure. And I always ask, I guess the guest this question because I get into this point where you are not only a business owner, but you're kind of developing a product or, you're selling a product or whatever the case may be. It's not like a linear way of doing things. It kind of
Oh yeah.
happenstance, a life event, something
Yeah.
like that. So I guess with all that being said, what were you doing, I guess, before this? And what was that thing that like, okay, did you always want to work for yourself, own your own business? Was that it? Or was it like a life event that kind of caused you to say, okay, I'm going to get off into the entrepreneurship game and kind of building a business, building products? So it's a two-part question. Number one, what were you doing before
Yeah.
the product development? And then what kind of got you off into, okay, where you are today?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. I grew up, my dad did construction, and so he'd take me along with on jobs and digging ditches and stuff like that. So I definitely appreciated some hard work, but that kind of made me realize that like, hey, I don't think I want to be doing that my whole life. And he owned his own business, whereas my mom, she was a nurse, and so she has a regular job,
Right.
and I saw the flexibility and all that. So I think I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I think the thing that kind of made me want to do it is just I can't stand a regular job. Like that was just like that was just really hard for me. So I think the pain of like showing up for a 9 to 5, I just knew I couldn't do that long term. I've done it before, but as far as that, like I knew I kind of had to be my own boss. So that's how I got into it. I started out, like we were talking about before, I started out licensing. So I was a student of InventRight. They teach you people how to license their product ideas. And so they taught me how to do that. And I started out, that's what it was. I licensed an idea, got it in dispensers. And then I just started looking at the market and seeing what was needed out on the market. And I mainly started with novelties, like I said, the party decorations, the sashes. This might sound so silly, but I went to a place in Tahoe that was selling one of my products. And I asked them what else they were looking for. And so they said, for bachelor parties, there's nothing for guys. They'll go and they'll get a sash that says bachelorette, and then they'll scratch off the ETT at the end. So that was my first idea, is a sash that just said bachelor on it, just like the most basic thing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a dumb idea. I like almost didn't even do it, but I was able to get it for like super cheap. I got like 1,000 sashes made, probably for about $1,000. So very, very low investment. And it took a while to take off, but once it did take off, then it just started expanding. So more and more like, banners, balloons, things like that, buttons. And then it was, okay, well, where else are men not being, represented in products? Baby showers, it's all about the mom. So I got things for the dad now. So that's kind of how it evolved. And then getting into the Divergent Safes, like I said, once I felt like I kind of understood Amazon, then I realized, okay, I can do this for other products as well.
Nice. And I guess that's a good pivot going to Amazon. How did you kind of get off into, again, because most people, business owners selling a product, they're just like, I guess, again, let's post their product on Amazon. But it seems like you, from kind of what I'm seeing, really studied it and kind of became kind of a little bit more involved with that process with Amazon and whatnot. So how did you kind of get involved with Amazon and being a brand manager with them?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting story, and something that you would think would be really bad that it actually turned out to be one of the best things to ever happen to me. And what that was, that starting out, I was on Amazon maybe like 10 years ago, something like that, and I put up some of my bachelor party sashes on there. I think I sold 2 units over a year. I was like,
Really?
okay, this ain't working. I probably just deactivated my listing or whatever, and so I just sold 2 units, right? And now about 4 or 5 years ago, I was searching on Amazon, and I forget why, but I think I just typed in like bachelor party sash or something like that, and you wouldn't believe it, but someone copied my product exactly, my exact
Really?
product, my photos, everything, right? And so I'm scratching my head. I'm like, this product didn't sell. Why would someone knock off my product? This makes no sense, right? but it was there, and I saw it had some good reviews. I didn't know anything about Amazon at the time,
Yeah.
but I'm like, all right, I got to figure out what's going on here, because there's something that I didn't get originally, and maybe the market had just grown since that time. But I was able to get on. I was able to take control of the listing, which is pretty nice because I had the copyright. And so even though my product was somewhat generic, there was still enough there for copyright protection, especially because they use my photos. Like everything was just,
Yeah, if you're copying the exact thing, and then it's like,
yeah, which is so funny because they could have just changed it up a bit,
right. That's
and I probably wouldn't be talking to you. Like I'd probably be working a 9 to 5, like kicking myself or something. And so it's one of those things, like I was saying, people could have gotten mad. Oh, this guy tried to knock me off. I can't believe it. How dare they? Instead, I was ecstatic. I was like, wow, you just showed me that I missed something. So when that happened, I took over the listing. I put in some products. I started to get some sales trickle, like way more than what I was used to.
right.
I sold on eBay, and I'd sell like a couple a week. Nothing near, profitable, just selling here and there,
Sure.
right? And so I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. So I did a really deep dive on Amazon, just learned a ton over 2 years working. And then, just having that grind mindset of worked all day. And then at night, set us apart 2 hours
Yep.
just to grind at night. You're tired. You don't want to do it. You're an athlete. I was an athlete myself, and it's like that is just so beneficial, knowing like when you're tired, it's like, nah, you're not really tired. That just means you got more. Yep. You got more in the tank. You got to keep pushing. You want to be successful. You got to keep doing it. So over probably 2 years, got better and better, learned more and more about Amazon, had people help me along the way, mentors that knew about it, and grew it up to a point where, it's enough to support my family, which is pretty incredible. Just feel very, very blessed that I got to that point. So yeah, long story short, that was the route.
But did you think, because again, like you said, I'm not business owner. I do think everyone should have something aside from their regular 9 to 5.
Oh yeah.
Because
yeah.
Back in the day, you can ride it out for 30 years. These days, a 9 to 5 doesn't give you any security that it once did. And I mean, I understand that everyone maybe are not cut out to be business owners, but it seemed like you should have something going on. But with all that said, did you ever think you would get to that point from saying, okay, look, I'm kind of grinding it out, working a 9 to 5 and kind of working this stuff in the evenings, to now kind of fast forward present day, you're essentially feeding your family based off of being a full-time entrepreneur, selling things on Amazon. Did you ever think that you would get to that point, or did it just kind of slowly kind of happen and you got more and more kind of confident in yourself and you being able to do it? That's interesting to me. It's a lot of respect for entrepreneurs, because you're building something where you got to essentially eat what you kill every day. Yeah. It's not like, okay, I can go to the job and I can have an off day, or I can kind of play around for this week. No, you have to kind of get out here and kind of eat what you kill, which is a lot more pressure. And it's a different animal compared to like the 9 to 5 corporate thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great question. When I was licensing, it's all about motivation, and I hate to say it, but I struggled with motivation. It was before I had kids. I think that was kind of the big thing, is once I had kids, I was like, all right, my wife and I worked, full time. And so it's like, how are we going to raise these kids if we're both working full time? Wow. I didn't want to just have them go to daycare all day. My goal was to have my wife homeschool our kids. That's really what I wanted. Nice. I love the concept of homeschooling. Just an aside, I hated school. I did well in it. I got pretty good grades. I went to a pretty good high school and college, and I coached wrestling too recently. I tell the kids, like, you don't have to love it. You can do well, but I didn't like to sit there. It wasn't for me. My wife liked it, but I was like, I wasn't the sit still and learn stuff. It's like, I wanted to be active.
For sure. So
I'm like, I really want my kids to be homeschooled. I love that flexibility of being able to teach them different things. And I'm really big into teaching, and I want to help out with that too. So as you asked me, did I envision this happening? Well, did I know I could do it? I wanted it. I really I was like, how am I going to do this? And at the time, it was just so, when I wasn't making any money, when you make zero money, it's like, how do you, when you're trying stuff and nothing's working, right? You're like,
Yep.
how am I going to do this? It just seems like such a pipe dream.
Sure.
And like I said, that was one of the best moments of my life was that seeing someone knock me off, because that got me going where all of a sudden, I think my first year I sold like $20,000,
Yeah.
that's total, that's gross, right? But that gave you that little spark of like, oh, I can do this. Like, yeah, 20,000 is not enough, at maybe 25% margin. What is that? That's like $7,500. That's not enough, right? That's not
Yeah.
even close to enough. But it showed me like, okay, I can grow this now. And so that's what I was telling you about that time of like, that's when my daughter was very young. Maybe she's like 6 months old. And it was like, I knew I wanted at least two kids. And it was like, okay, time to get your butt gear. Like, you talk a good game, you want to do this. Well, it's not going to work if the dollars aren't there, right? You can say all this, you can say you want to do this or that, but at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like, what do you really want? And
Right.
so it really was the motivation of having the kids that just changed things. It got me from, not being motivated at the end of the day to be like, I'm going to do whatever I can.
Right.
And so, just putting in the work. That's all, that's all it is. Putting in the work. I think it was about 20,000 the first year, 60 the next year, 180 the year after that, like 680 after that. So then
Really?
that's, yeah, close to seven figures this year. And, it all depends on the margin too.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Sales are actually probably down a little bit this year, but my margin's higher. So
Yeah.
kind of like works out. But,
So are you?
I'm just incredibly
I'm sorry.
blessed. I want to say that. I just want to, I can't say that story without just saying how lucky and how fortunate.
I mean, but you put in the work, which is
Yeah.
commendable, and I think too. Yeah, if you're not willing to put in the work, you don't even give yourself a chance, an opportunity to kind of get guys a favor and being able to have success in a way that you did. I guess
Yeah.
maybe my question I have, the next question is, so with these different products that you're selling on Amazon, obviously with the Divergent Safe, that's something that you kind of created. Hey, it was stuff out there, and again, a lot of it's nothing new under the sun. So, even with patents, I tell people, I mean, a lot of this stuff is incremental improvements. You're typically not going from the freaking with the payphone to the cell phone. That typically isn't how it works. Typically, those patents are incremental improvements on what's out there. So with this stuff, are you designing and kind of producing this stuff or developing this stuff yourself, or is it okay? Because like I've heard of like Amazon stores and things like that where people are trying to find stuff that works and maybe kind of sell it from that standpoint, and maybe it's a little bit of that. And I do want to get up into at some point, which we were talking about branding, because I think that's a big part of it, which a lot of people don't really understand or appreciate or kind of really think about and take advantage of, because that's okay. Just building that customer, what you call it? Just okay, man. We know when we buy something from such and such brand, it's going to be quality. It's going to be what it needs to be, as opposed to just kind of willy nilly buying stuff from people on Amazon, not knowing how the product is going to turn out. So I know I threw I guess a lot of questions at you, but I guess maybe the first question, that being, are you like a combination of developing your own products as well as kind of maybe branding some things under your brand and kind of selling them that's maybe already out there?
Yeah, good question. So for my party decorations, that's all me and my wife, my team, that comes up with that. And like that's really basic stuff. That's like fabrics and things like that. Like I said, the sashes, things like that. So that's really easy. The downside is it's pretty easy to knock off too. Like I was saying about how I have the copyright, so you can't. I shouldn't tell people. I shouldn't say this because I don't want people to try and knock me off. But it's already happening with the different Chinese sellers. Is that they changed it enough, so it's different. And I'm not going to go after them. I'm not. We talk about IP a bit. And like I'm not going to go out of my way to hassle people over IP. It's like, do what's right. But if you change it enough, that's the game, You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to like bully someone with IP.
Right.
Like, don't knock me off. Don't be, as long as you're doing what's right. I don't, I'm not a fan of when someone just kind of copies something and changes it up a little bit. I might go after them for that. So that's all my stuff. The Divergent Safes, the outlet, that's mine. Even though, like I said, it was a better iteration of something else, it
Yeah.
was quite a bit different. I mean, it was the same concept of like it's an outlet safe, but I changed a lot of things up on how it was done. Some of the other things I do resell. So, like you
Okay.
said, yeah, private label.
Yeah.
So there are things that are made in China, but like you said, it's also the branding, and so it is something where I try my best not to sell anything that's not a high quality. Now,
Gotcha.
Divergent Safes, look, to have a uh, to keep them cheap, they're not going to be like the top best quality,
Right.
100%, unless you want to, no one's going to pay $30 for like a safe that's like a
Right.
lighter.
Yeah, they,
You
yeah,
know
they
what
just
I'm
don't
saying?
appreciate it as much as, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
So you have to
but
weigh
I
that
but I
cost.
but I do refine it, and I work with my manufacturer. Even though it is somewhat of a resell, if I can improve it in some way, I will have them improve it. And the
Right.
biggest thing for me that for my brand is the customer service, and so making sure that people understand how the safes work is a big thing. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I get stuff that I would be happy with, and that's what I love is that every now and then I'll get people that want to do a return or something doesn't work, and I'm not big enough where I have someone else doing it, so I manage it. And luckily, maybe I'm just lucky that I don't have a lot of returns,
Right.
but I message them. I'm like, look, I'm a consumer too. So if you're not happy with this, I'll refund you and I'll even give you another product. And so often they're like, really? Like, that's amazing. Like I guess they just aren't used to good customer
For sure.
service.
Yeah.
And then, like you're saying, that builds your brand. That makes people aware of like, oh, hey, this person wants to do what's right. So that's what I'm about.
So at what point did not the customer service, but again, just shifting off into the IP a little bit,
Yeah,
with the trademarks, because again, I know, some,
yeah.
we talked about it before where, a patent, it has to kind of be worth the cost and things like that. But from a trademark perspective, at what point in the branding that you are like, okay, this is actually maybe more important than say a patent, because you're kind of building something, number one, whereas a patent only lasts 20 years or 15 years. If a design patent, this trademark thing lasts forever as long as you're using
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then with just the customers, and hey, as long as that brand is associated with quality and good products and good customer service, man, people are going to keep coming back. So at what point did that light bulb go off to say, okay, this branding is a big part of it? Was it during your time at InventRight, or like what had that light bulb go off as far as branding and the importance of it?
Yeah, yeah. At InventRight, they taught about trademarks, but since it was product development, it was kind of like and that's not very important. It's really understanding how to use the IP, and that's why I was telling you earlier. Like, if you are an inventor, you're a entrepreneur. You have to understand this stuff yourself. You don't have to be an expert. That's why you hire someone like yourself. That's the expert that's going to do all the nuts and bolts, but you have to understand how it's going to help your business. And all IP is, it's a part of your business. It's not your whole business, right? I mean, even if you're licensing an idea, that's still the idea that you're still having to sell, and
Right.
it's not so much the IP, it's what you do with it. As far as when I got into the trademark, it was just through Amazon. They're like, hey, if you have a trademark, you can get all these benefits. You can get your A+ content. You can have your own store. You can do Amazon posts. You can do all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, might as well. It takes about 9 months. So I did it for Bro Sash. That was my first one. And then I started, as I did more and more research on Amazon and just business, just like you said, is understanding who your customer is. And that ties into who your brand is. So you have to understand who's your ideal customer, and then you have to make your brand match that customer.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the big thing that I've been learning and developing, and why I think trademarks are helpful. And I'm not a tax attorney, but I think there's actually tax benefits too. Like, for instance, I license, so my company licenses my trademarks from me because there's value in those trademarks.
It's
And
Yeah, go ahead.
and no, go ahead. I feel like you're
No,
going to jump in.
no, I was going to say, man, that's a great point. I interviewed. I know you're on the West Coast, so It's a coffee company. They're in the Midwest. I think they're down in Florida. It's called Big B Coffee. And I interviewed the co-founder, Mike McFarland. He, again, the same thing. And they do about 200 million in annual revenue. And he has two companies, which I think is a great way to go about it, where you have the operating company, you have the company that owns the IP, and the IP company licenses IP to the operating company. And I think they paid him like 10% a year of the revenue, which not only is benefit from a tax perspective, as you mentioned, but it kind of gives credibility and gives value to that trademark, because now when you're going to the bank or whatnot, the bank can say, okay, your company, albeit your company, but they paid you hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars a year for the IP. So now it gives credibility to the IP to the extent that you want to take a loan or whatever, or sell it, or whatever the case may be. So I couldn't hold the water then, but I think that's a great point that you mentioned. I think a lot of people need to look at that a little bit more hard, and not only from the asset protection and, the tax benefits, but I think from a building a brand and, being able to kind of build the value of the IP. It seems like that's a clear-cut way. Because if you're just, okay, you have this company and you have the IP, you have the product, and it's like, okay, what's the value of the IP, the product? But then when you have these two separate entities, and it seems like it's a little bit more clear in terms of the value of, I guess, the IP, in this case, the trademark in that case.
Yeah, 100%. I love what you said right there. And it's an asset too. That's kind of what you're getting at. It's an asset. I mean, the tax thing is like kind of a smaller thing. It's really just to go off what you were saying. I feel like it's that concept, like you were saying, is that you're building a brand, and so when you get that trademark, you're like, okay, this is my brand. It's not just a company. It's what does it represent? What are the intangibles? How am I building this up? How am I building this value? And saying it's an asset, well, maybe not everyone thinks this way, but you eventually will start thinking this way if you're successful, is what's going to happen if I want to sell this business, right? A lot of people, I think they get into it and they don't I think some do, like, oh, I'm going to build it up and sell it. But I think people don't realize, like, oh, if you got a nice offer, you're going to sell that. And then, having that trademark, it helps you conceptualize what your business is and who you're selling to. But it's also an extra thing of like, I have this trademark and here's the value. This is what it's being licensed at this moment right now. So that's my philosophy on it. It's not everything, right? It's like just filing it. That means nothing, right? You have to do something with it.
For sure.
I like them. They're cheap. They're really cheap in my opinion. And it's like 10 years that you have to renew it, right?
Yep.
I mean, you have to renew every 10 years. So it's like, that's... that's nice.
And then relatively to a patent, like you said, it's nothing. Like you said, $1,000, renewals, and then whereas a patent, you're going to spend up to $10,000, if not more, depending on what it is, just to get one patent. Then I think it seems like, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the Amazon and the Apex program on the patent side of things, but they also have where if somebody is, which I'm pretty sure you experienced, if somebody's kind of trying to knock off your trademark or selling a product under your brand name, it's easy to get that taken down on Amazon, which is another benefit of having that trademark.
Yeah. I think you asked me when do you get it, or when was I thinking about getting it, and if I didn't say so already, if anyone's thinking of selling it on Amazon, just get it now. Just get it, as long as you actually have something done for your business, you might as well, just because it takes 9 months.
For sure. Yeah.
That's it. Get a good name too. And so that's just one thing. If you're ever buying on Amazon, I'm guessing people probably understand this, but if it's just like the brand names like Goji, Boji, Boj, or something random, you're like, wait, what is this? That's probably just some Chinese company that just has some random name that I don't, whereas like an American brand, you're gonna get it, right? You're gonna see it. You're like, oh, that brand is related to this product, not just some gibberish. That's the brand name, and that's value. People might not think that. Oh, does that really matter? Like, having a product that says Secret Stash, you're like, that's cool. At least for me, like, that's cool. That adds a little bit of credibility to it. And then when you have it branded and it says Secret Stash, and then you see all the different products under that brand, it starts to all add up together.
No, and I think, for me, and I'm not sure how you think about it or the audience, but I think just having something where you have an R in a circle that shows as a register mark, I don't know, man, maybe I'm kind of overthinking it, but it seems like you give some type of credibility to that company to say, okay, at least they went the extra mile to kind of try to protect the brand as opposed to just
Yeah.
kind of selling things kind of willy nilly, and it doesn't appear. Oh, maybe it's kind of cheap, maybe it's a knockoff. It just doesn't appear that they are protected in any way, or they have a real brand. Because that's the thing. I would almost prefer to buy or purchase something that from a brand, so to speak, as opposed to something that looks like, okay, it's a one-off thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really maybe go with the brand on that one. So I guess that's my take on that. I guess I did have a question for you as it relates to, I was reading something and it said that maybe your first product was taken out from a copyright violation. Can you maybe tell if that's accurate and what's the story behind that?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a competitor and had another similar product to mine. And it's kind of funny because my original one that I was doing in my, for the outlet safe that I was kind of like building them in my garage. And I was tired of that. It was just too time consuming. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get more of it manufactured in China. So I had more of it in China. It's kind of a long story about putting all the packaging together, and all of that was just a way more of a headache than it should have been. So that was the old version versus not the new one that just came out.
Okay.
But that old version, it came out, and man, like a week or two before it was active and live. And this is something that people have to understand for like getting knocked off. Someone's not going to knock you off, and their product's going to be out like 2 weeks later, right? Like that product development phase is like 9 months plus, and that's like super quick, is 9 months. So if you tell someone your idea and then you see it out on the market the next month, like there is no chance they did that.
Yeah, for sure.
And knocked you off. So right before my product launches, I see a competitor pop up. That's nice. Like I'll give them credit. They have a good quality version competitor. Not like the other ones that we, were out there originally. And so I just remember like, oh man, like this is crazy, but you got to be positive and just say, all right, competition makes you better. So I'm just going to have to do a better job with my listing and my product and all that. And that is, I think that's probably when I started to like think of different ways to do it for this latest one. And so anyway, that was the brand that was up. And then that was about 2 years later. I finally got the upgraded version that was all just complete, 100% manufactured, just ready to go. And I had, at first they said the bullet points were similar, which that kind of fell through. And then there was a picture that was similar to their picture. And copyright, I mean, look, you're the attorney. You can tell me a lot better than what I know. But again, about doing your due diligence and understanding IP, I don't think that it was infringing at all. It had a couple of logos that were kind of similar, but they were kind of generic logos, like a lock with like a check mark type of thing. And then I think one other thing. And yeah, the overall picture was like an installation picture.
Sure.
Yeah, it was pretty similar, but none of the words were the same. And some of the like there was like 2 images, kind of like icon images that were similar, that if you probably went and scoured Amazon, you could probably find hundreds of examples of those images. And so, yeah, you could protect Amazon that way, or Amazon could protect you that way. And so he filed a copyright thing, and I posted this on LinkedIn. I think this is how you found me, was that instead of me getting mad, and it wasn't too fun because it was a brand new product, and they deactivated my listing for at least a week, and that's huge. And so I could have been upset with that company. Oh man, they're trying to just take out their competition. And it's so funny because everyone I talked to said that, and they got upset for me. And I was like, yeah, I'm not too happy about this, but I'm going to work with this person. And so I reached out and I said, hey, tell me what needs to change? Like, what do you feel is infringing? And so they were more specific on it, and they ended up telling Amazon, like, okay, hey, I changed a couple of things and just said, hey, is this okay for you guys? And they said, yeah. And what's really interesting, so I was, professional with them, and I was, just worked with them. Instead of saying, hey, you guys are doing this, you're bad people. Instead, I worked with them. They made an offer to buy my brand.
Really?
And I'm actually pretty far in negotiations with them. Originally, I thought they were just trying to get some information. I didn't
Yeah,
know how upfront they were, especially after the copyright thing, right?
yeah, for sure.
Um, but you know, no deal is ever. It's not until the ink's on the paper and it's been like a year,
Yeah,
because you know what I'm saying, until
yeah,
it's done. So I'm not going to say it's like done or anything like that. Can always fall through, but we're pretty far on actually doing that, where I would actually be selling off the line of the outlet safes to him,
not,
um,
and, and,
and not the whole thing
right.
either. That's what's kind
Yeah,
of interesting,
for
just the
sure.
line.
Yep.
And that's yeah, yeah. So that's just kind of, which just shows of like, hey, be professional. Think of things from the other person's side. I could see it. You know, I think he probably didn't fully understand what copyright is, and that, okay, no, if this went to court, you know, I don't think it would be something that
For
they could
sure.
stop, you
Yep.
know, because it's not exact. But instead, you know, I think we're gonna have a deal where we're both pretty happy.
No, and man, I have a ton of things to say about that. So that's one of the good things about, and that's why I wanted to ask you about that, because I love the approach. I know a lot of times people kind of get kind of pissed off and angry when somebody
Yeah,
is infringing or whatever the case may be, or somebody uh, accuses them of infringement, and they
yeah,
want to kind of go after them and kind of, you know, send them a nasty letter. But you did the opposite of that, and it seems like not only did it work out for that particular listing, but it worked out, maybe it's looking good for the bigger picture
yeah,
of things, which I think is the way to go. And I always tell, you know, clients who come to me, or prospective clients who come to me and say, hey, you know, this person is doing X, Y, Z, and I'm saying, hey, you'll be better off going to talk to them first and seeing if you guys can come to a. And I understand that it's some stuff that you guys are not just going to agree on, but you'll be
yeah,
better off trying to kind of get in contact with the owner or whatever the case may be, and see if you guys can kind of come to a meet another mind, because it's going to cost, if I get involved and then now I'm talking to maybe their attorney, and now it's going to cost you even more, because it's more of a back and forth, as opposed to you just kind of talking to the owner, talking to maybe someone of the ownership group of that company, and seeing if you guys can try to work something out, which it seems like in your case, you did that, and which is cool. And then I guess the other thing that I was going to say about that, the interesting thing, especially on the Amazon side of all this stuff, and that's whether it's trademark, copyright, or patent infringement, and somebody trying to kind of make that determination through the various programs that Amazon has, is it's already tough enough for like judges on a federal level to kind of come to the same agreement on
yeah.
what's,
Oh
okay, is
yeah,
this copyright
oh
infringement, is
yeah,
this trademark
yeah,
infringement. And I would imagine that whoever's reviewing this stuff on Amazon level, to the extent that they are attorneys, maybe they're not even attorneys, but I would imagine that they're probably going to have kind of differences of the minds as well. So it's kind of tough with it's good in a sense, because you have some level of protection, especially if you have your IP protected. But as far as, okay, is this really copyright infringement? Is this really trademark
yeah,
infringement? Who knows? It's, again, it's, you know, reasonable minds may differ, but if you have someone
yeah,
who's maybe not even trained, or probably not even judges, really kind of deciding on this stuff, it kind of makes it a lot even more tougher. Which I don't know. I guess is an interesting concept, but no, I thought that was a cool story that I had wanted you to share. I guess another thing, because you talked about licensing as well as kind of bringing a product to the market, which you did with the Divergent Safe. But then it seems like, I think I recall you saying that you would prefer, or you will, you know, tell others to go the licensing route as
yeah,
opposed to going to
yeah,
bringing it to the market, even though you seem to have more of a passion for bringing it to the market as opposed to licensing.
yeah.
Just kind of talking to you and kind of, you know, just kind of doing some research beforehand. I guess why would you, or why do you, I guess, say, or just tell people to maybe do it one way, and maybe you kind of have a different, I guess, perspective as far as what you're doing on a day-to-day with kind of bringing things to market?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first, I just got to comment on what you said originally, and that this just shows that you really know your stuff, and that is very commendable that you said that if someone's infringing, that you the that person, your client, and the other infringer should talk before you do, because that's, like you said, I'm guessing you're probably going to charge them for that, and
Yeah,
that's, you know, expensive, right? But also, once you start getting attorneys involved, the whole vibe changes. And not that you don't want attorneys involved,
yeah,
but it has to be the right sequence. And
yeah,
usually it's like save it for the very end once everyone's happy. Then you have the attorneys come in, like finalize things. Okay, we're good. Not right away. So that's really cool that you said that. I hope everyone just really understands that. For your question, as far as Sorry, I think
No. As far as the licensing, you
Oh,
maybe
sorry.
refer to people the
Yeah. The
license as opposed to
licensing. Oh,
bringing
I
it to
can
market,
definitely.
even though you maybe, I guess
I
it seems
can.
like you have a passion for
Oh,
doing it the other way
I
as
can.
far as.
I can talk your ear off about this. So I did. Like I was saying, I was a student of InventRight, so they teach licensing, and then I worked for InventRight for 7 years doing customer service and just talked to just a ton of inventors. And so why do I tell people to do that? Because I think 95% of people aren't cut out to run their own business. Maybe things are changing now where you can do it on a smaller scale. And, you know, like you were saying earlier, it might have been off air, but just everyone's looking to get into a side hustle. So I think that's great. But licensing is a side hustle. And so I recommend that, especially because, like I said, I've seen these creative people, right? And so creative people, what are they good at? They're good at coming up with ideas. All right. They're not always as good at the follow through as they need to be. Now, I'm great at follow through. Not to brag, I'm very good at follow through.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, it's like done is better than what is it? Done is better than perfect, like 100%. But inventors tend to want things that are perfect, right? And so licensing, what you're doing is you come up with the idea, which you're good at, right? You find a company. So, one product that I was working on was a fitness product. So I contacted all these companies, all these brands that are selling fitness products. And I sent them a sell sheet. It's a one pager on what the product was. And what would happen if I ended up not getting a deal for that product. But when you do license an idea, which I've done before, is they pay you a royalty for that idea. And that's, so they do everything. So they have the marketing, they have the sales, they have the distribution, they have the money to put into it. That's another big thing. You want to go a big run, 100,000 units. That's a lot of money. And then what are you going to do with it? Right. So they have all that infrastructure and they give you a royalty percent, whatever it is, 2%, 5%, 10%, whatever. That really varies. That's that you have to understand what that royalty means and how it's negotiated and all that. And people think, oh, that's low. That's low. It's like, no, it's not. That's not low.
You have no 5%. Skin in the game.
Exactly. You're getting 5%. And then what you do is you're actually, if done right, you're renting the idea to them. And so, you want to have in a minimum guarantee where say they don't sell as many units as they said they would, they have to pay you a certain amount or you get your product, your idea back.
For sure.
Like I was saying, understanding IP, right? So usually when pitching an idea to a company, what I would do is I would do a provisional patent application to start. And then that gives you that professionalism that you can put patent pending on there, small enough to read it. You don't put it right in front in huge block letters because that's not, that's just like cheesy. If it's just, patent pending, like, taking up half the screen, you don't want that. You want it like small at the bottom, like someone looks at, oh, this guy knows what he's doing, right? It's not like huge. They'll see it. And then, you work with the company and have them pay for the patent. That's a great way to do it. So that's the reason why I recommend people doing that is if they like coming up with ideas, that's what they should do. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to figure all that stuff out, you want total control, you want to do marketing, you want to do sales, you want to do distribution, you want to be calling people, you want to be doing accounting, all that stuff, or hiring people to do that, which you still kind of have to manage them. You have to understand it. That's, if you want to do that, then great, but just be very honest that you have to be more passionate about running a business than you are about your idea. If you're more passionate about your idea, look into licensing. If you're more passionate about running a business, then great, venture. And you have to be able to afford it too.
Right. So, and this is, I think this is going to provide value, even more value to the audience. What's the best way to go about that? Because I know a lot of times I approach or come across people who they don't know how to maybe kind of get their idea in front of the right person, or it's kind of tough to get these meetings with maybe this executive or this person at this company to be able to kind of pitch their idea, so to speak, to try to kind of land a licensing arrangement for the company. So I guess what based on your experience with that, what are some ways to kind of put yourself in a better light? Obviously, I know you said patent pending, make it look more professional, or provisional application, so you can put patent pending on a product and it makes you look more professional, which I do agree with. But what are some of the other things that people can do to kind of try to increase their chances of landing something with one of these, or at least landing a meeting with one of these companies to try to pitch the idea from a licensing standpoint?
Yeah. I mean, definitely looking up what a sell sheet is.
Okay.
So it's like a one-page advertisement of what the benefit of your idea is. Also, take a step back. Take a step back from your product, and the problem that product developers have, and I have this issue too, is that the product so well that you fill in the blanks. Meaning, like, you could have a sell sheet that shows what the benefit of the product is, but it's not totally clear. Now, it's clear to you because you know that product backwards and forwards, right? You don't see it. You don't see those gaps. So show it to someone and don't even tell them what it is, right? Don't tell them anything about the idea. Just say, do you get what this one pager is about? And then just, hopefully they're honest with you. Maybe do that with like 5 people. And if they have I don't get this, I don't get that, well, then tweak that so that someone can get it. And then you're going to call people, salespeople, marketing managers, things like that, people that are can kind of be your champion to help develop that product internally. I mean, that's a huge thing. That's what InventRight was teaching people when I was there was how to get in and how to license and build that big network of companies that you can reach out to. Reach out to a ton of companies too. You have your one favorite company, that's great. Now go find 20 more, and then reach out to all of them, and then see how many get back to you. Do it right, be professional. You got to be consistent too, man. You just gotta like keep knocking on doors till you get a hold of someone. I mean, that's a whole other thing too about doing that. But like you said about no skin in the game, I mean, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier than having to start your own business and put your own capital in or raise money or whatever. You just have to get into someone that can, like I said, kind of help champion your product. There's kind of a negotiation phase too, obviously, with that too, about getting into the right person and kind of selling your product and selling yourself too. Is that companies, they care about you, right? They do. They care about you, meaning like, don't be a crazy inventor. Don't be like over the top. You want to be someone that's easy to work with, and you could absolutely have a great idea, but if you're difficult to work with, they'll pass. So make sure that you're know how to work with people, and that you're reasonable and you understand the space too.
No, that makes perfect sense. I know I'll never forget. I was interviewing Dan Klessner, who invented Bop It. And he's going on to invent other kind of cool toy games that have reached a lot of success commercially. But Bop It was just, at least in my childhood, that was like the.
Oh yeah.
The other game was amazing. And it seems like every household in America. But he always had this acronym right where you have to have a relationship, idea, timing, and execution. And he was like, if all those things are kind of line up, then you kind of stand to have a big product. But he also kind of talked about the whole licensing and being able to license an idea, which that was the first time I heard of that concept. So I thought that was interesting. But then he said, when you have those wins like that, for example, if you have a win that's kind of licensing your product to a company or whatnot, then it seems like it gets easier, he said, as kind of going forward, because you already have those relationships with the companies or whatnot. So I thought that was cool. So I guess maybe a couple final questions for you. We all know, especially to the extent that you're trying to kind of bring something to market or build a business, this is not like a linear thing where it's just kind of a slow increase, but it's almost like a sine wave where you have the ups and the downs. So I guess, and I know you talked about some of your downs as well as some of your ups kind of throughout the interview, but I guess maybe 2 questions for you. What was the biggest maybe breakthrough that you had with the business? And then on the flip side of that, what was probably the biggest challenge or hurdle that you had to, I guess, overcome as you kind of been going through this thing?
Yeah. So you said it's not linear, but mine actually was pretty linear.
Really?
Is that it was like kind of like a straight line, like zero, as I was trying to grind and just couldn't get any traction. And that's kind of the same thing too. And then it actually, was kind of linear growth, and then it kind of has been. It was kind of like a trajectory, and then it kind of has leveled off just based on, they say that's kind of how companies are. Once you kind of hit a limit, it's like, I have about 100 plus ideas. And so to triple that, like I tripled it every year, right? But to go from 10 to 30 products is like doable. To go from 30 to 90 is doable. But to go from 90 to 270, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of where you start to like plateau. So yeah, as far as like the biggest breakthrough is, like I said before, seeing that knockoff. And then it was like a breakthrough of like 2 years of just grinding for 2 years to get better and better and better, and to really understand the space and just do everything I could to just keep growing the company. The hardest part, yeah, I mean, that's hard to answer. I think just getting started. I think I was just trying a lot of different stuff, and I just have, this is like everyone says, right? You had so many failed business ideas that you're just like, you look back, you're like, oh, that was a dumb idea. But they say on your way up, you want to say yes to everything, meaning like try a whole bunch of different stuff. They say when you're on your way down, you say no to everything. And I hate to say it, that's kind of where I'm at now too. It's like I love helping people, but it's like I'm kind of at the point where like I got enough to manage myself. Yeah. Not that I would like to make a little pitch that, yeah, people have products that they are wanting to get on Amazon or do have on Amazon and need help with and want someone to help brand manage. Yeah. That's something that if it worked out, I'd say yes. Although, I am saying no to a lot more people that they're not right. They're not a right fit. They don't have that idea ready yet, So yeah, as far as the hurdle goes, it was kind of getting started, but just saying yes to everything and just figuring, throwing a ton of stuff up at the wall, something stuck, and then you just kind of went with it, right? And that's why I'm just like, man, how'd I get so lucky? Like, it wasn't something I planned. Yeah. It was something I wanted, but I had no idea how I was going to get there. I just kept doing stuff.
It seems like and you and I are similar in that area as far as just doing it. I'm not. I guess we all kind of, strive for perfection, but I'm not waiting for something to be perfect before I move on or act on it. It's like, okay, this is far enough longer. It's ready enough for me. Let's kind of do it. And then we kind of figure things out as we go, continue to figure things out as we go, as opposed to, sitting there and thinking that, okay, this has to be perfect before I do it or launch this product, whatever the case may be. That's it. So I don't know, but it seems like you've kind of put in a lot of action, I would say, over the years, and to give yourself an opportunity for kind of luck or for favor or whatever you want to say it, to kind of come across your way. And I don't know, I think that's definitely a way to go, I think, for sure. I guess the last question would be, how can people follow you? How can people purchase the products? I know a lot of this stuff is on Amazon, and we will, once the actual interview comes out, we will put the different links so that people can go and kind of check out and hopefully purchase the product. But how can people follow you as well as kind of purchase your products? I know you have a ton of them.
Yeah, definitely. I'll promote mainly the Secret Stash brand because that's, I think, most relevant. So it's secretstashsafes.com.
Okay.
Or you can just look up the Secret Stash brand on Amazon. Like I said, yeah, if anyone needs help with their Amazon business, like growing it, getting on there, if they have a successful product or, a product that's ready to go, that's how they can contact me. And then they can contact me at LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm sure. Yeah. Yep. Jonathan Corbett on there. And I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh, definitely. And hopefully you guys, as the audience member, had your pens and paper out, because he dropped a lot of jewels. And hey, it's definitely something that started from nothing, and be able to kind of do a business to the point where you're kind of approaching 7 figures in revenue, man. That's hey, you're doing something right. I'll say that. So hopefully you guys got a lot of jewels, and not only you just kind of receiving them, but I'm big on, I guess, application of applying the things that you learn as opposed to just receiving it for the sake of receiving it. So hopefully you guys do that. And until next time, audience, take care. Peace.